Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's session. It's our NGO Organizational Effectiveness Workshop brought to you by the American Spaces in Nigeria. And it is such a pleasure to be with you all this morning hosting today's session. My name is Stephanie Adesonya. I'm the director for the American Corner Ikeja, and it's going to be an exciting session today. As you all know, we are having the module Human Resources, and we started last week, Monday. We had the session Monday and Thursday, and then we're going to be continuing today that same module Human Resources, which will be wrapped up on Thursday, September 8th. All right. I know everyone has been having a swell time. I've been following this module as well. And for those of you that are just joining us, you're very welcome. I'd like to especially thank all the American Spaces that are joining us this morning. American Corner Port Harcourt, Lekki Window, the American Space in Ibadan, Abeokuta Window in America, but especially a big thank you to the American Space in Abuja for hosting people at the location today. I can see that they are joining in. Thank you so much for hosting people at your space for this program this morning. All right, without wasting too much of our time, let me introduce our speaker for today. Some of you already know her and you're familiar with her, and I've heard how warm and wonderful and amazing she has been so far. But for those of you that don't know, our speaker today is Veronica Ijeweche Agana, and she's the co-founder and product lead of Soso Care, a fintech social enterprise that offers healthcare access to millions of Nigerians who do not have insurance, using recyclables as a financial resource. Veronica has over 12 years working experience in the telecommunications sector, where she served as a human resources executive with focus on talent acquisition, customer relations in MTN Nigeria, before venturing into community development sector in the last 5 years. She has led many social and environmental interventions targeted at mitigating health risk in communities, amplifying the voices of women and youth, and inclusive education. Through her works, her team, Soso Care, emerged winners of 2019 Health Meets Tech Hackathon by Nigerian Health Watch and Epi Afrique, and also emerged third place winner, World Bank Youth Summit 2019. She's a current grantee of GSMA and Total Energies Starter Upper Challenge 2021 winner, and so on and so forth. So everyone, it's a pleasure to welcome Veronica today. I would hand it over to her to, begin the session, and hopefully we can have questions midway or however she would like, she prefer. But I'll be here to moderate and, moderate the question and answer session whenever she's ready to take that. So Veronica, the floor is all yours. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, ma'am.
Great, thank you. Standing on existing protocol, on transit, so I'm going to have a bit of power challenge. So I'm just trying to see how much we can cover before my laptop runs down. So apologies, please. So I may be a bit faster than I used to be. So we'll reserve all the questions till the end of the session today, please. Thank you. I hope you all understand with me. All right. Can you see my screen? Can you please connect my second device to project the presentation? Give me access, please, to be able to share my screen. It's the same name, Veronica.
Okay, was it that one?
The one with Veronica Agana.
Yes, I made you co-host already, so you should have access now.
All right. It's still showing disabled. Use the second device. Let's see.
Okay, I have both as co-hosts. You can try again.
All right. Okay, that's fine. All right, can you all see my screen? All right. Okay, good morning, everyone. And nice connecting with you on the call again. Sorry, formally. Respect.
Hi, Veronica. We don't have audio from your end. Please check the audio. There we go.
Hello.
Yes,
Can you hear
now
me
you're
now?
back. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, so sorry. Now we will be discussing HR structure, HR management structure for your organization today, and then how you develop policies and procedures. Policies and procedures, please don't look at the big grammar, the big English, right? Policies and procedures are just rules and regulations that govern an entity. Why? Because if you run an organization and you don't have these policies and procedures, all these rules that govern your operations, you will have challenge. These rules and regulations exist so that it will shape how and when you conduct your actions from the moment you step into the organization to run the operations for the day till the moment you leave. All these would help you to know if you're going to build an organization with a great culture or not. In our past sessions, we were talking about why people leave organizations. All this boils down to what policies and procedures or culture that exists within your organization. So for today, our learning objectives will be on how you can develop HR policies and procedures, okay? Then we will be talking about the appraisal process and how what it is that is an appraisal, okay? Then we'll talk about developing an employee handbook. Then we'll also talk about strategies or approaches for employee relations and then career development. If you remember in my last session, a lot of people were complaining about how their staffs don't stay. And most things aside salary, that is one of the key factors that attract employees to an organization. The aspect of what is in need for me as a person outside of salaries, what is the organization doing for me? That is, how are you planning for the employees to be better than who they are? Are you giving them opportunities to develop themselves, or are you a barrier to their development? Definitely, if you're an organization that encourages employees to develop themselves, it is a strategy you can retain a staff for a long time. But if you have a poor policy around how your employees develop themselves, definitely is a factor that is going to push your employees away. And then lastly, if time permits, we will be able to talk about your HR information system. So just a moment. Just a moment, please. Okay, sorry, while I'm still trying to get to okay. So we will be talking about policies in the workplace, okay? From my presentation, that organizations are always at loggerheads with their employees because of the kind of practice, what shapes their operations in their organization. So thankful to internet, okay, and a lot of collaborations across industries, there is information sharing. So even if you don't have, after today's session, you should leverage on the power of the internet to be able to get some of this information that may be lacking in what you use in conducting your operations as an organization. Today, young people or employees always want something better, something faster, something smarter. So if you as an organization, you do not evolve with the trends of today's world, then you find yourself pushed out of business in no distant time, okay? Specifically, in the workplace today, you compared to what was obtainable 5, 10, 15 years back, the workplace is more competitive, it is more faster to change, it is focused on cutting cost of operations, it is focused on working with stakeholders, it also have to do with policies should not serve as impediment. That should, when you have a policy in place, it shouldn't be a barrier to your growth. Rather, the policy should be something that will make you achieve your goals faster and quicker, okay? Then in recent times too, organizations have now begin to come up with strategies on how they can be more family-centered. There are organizations that if you are bereaved, they won't allow you go and mourn, okay? But now organizations can now adopt a policy that gives you days to take leave, to go and be with your family, and then give you time off from work to be able to overcome the grief. It doesn't go away overnight, but organizations have incorporated it into their work culture. Part of their policy is that for most organizations, they give you 5 days off. That is for bereavement policy. They have a policy for bereavement. They give you 5 days. Most organizations practice 5 days, okay? Then they give you liberty to even take your annual leave within that period so that you can have ample time. But it will be nice for you as an employee that is seeking for this leave to actually engage with your HR so that you can make the best out of the opportunity, so that you're not breaching company policy or organizational policy for leave of absence. For some persons, immediately they hear they are bereaved, they don't take permission, they just disappear from work. No, that is not the right way to go about it, okay? It is best you inform your boss. When you inform your boss, then your leave policy comes into play. That is the guideline that if we find ourselves in this situation, what do we do? That is what the policy will do. It's going to spell out, if you find yourself in this scenario, take this step, take this step, take this step. That way, the employer is protected, the employee also is protected. Most people, when they are bereaved, they just disappear from work. And you are supposed to, you are performing a role, right? And if you're not there, there should be somebody that should take over from you. Hello, Bolu. Can you mute your call, please? Thank you. Thank you. Bolu Akinpelu, kindly mute your call. Thank you. It's interfering with the conversation. All right. So, and then lastly, I mentioned that we must offer opportunities for growth for our employees. Okay, now, when you talk about employee relations, what comes to your mind? I need one or two persons to just tell us what they understand by employee relations. Anybody? Hello?
Hello.
Okay, Fumbi, are you
Okay.
talking?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
When you talk of employee relation, to my own understanding, I think there should be an open communication skill where the employee should be able to also have access to speak with the management. Then also there must be a kind of relation, a kind of puppy relation within the organization too, that will give the employee the sense of belonging, that they are important in the organization, not only the outside clients, but they too are important, so that they'll be able to work with the organization.
All right, very good. She said employee relations has to do with being open and also giving your in-house staff a sense of belonging. That is very, very important, please. Any other person? Hello? All right, so we can proceed now. Employee relations has to do with how the manner in which colleagues relate with each other. Okay. Of recent, we have had cases of employees or even former employees coming to accuse their former employers or current employers as being toxic. Toxic in the sense that they didn't give them a level playing ground as employees. A lot of organizations are guilty of that in Nigeria, sadly. A lot of organizations have very terrible working relationship or terrible working conditions. And because we understand that with anything, so there's employers treat their employees and vice versa. So employee relations is a sum total of how an employee should experience, or the experience an employee should enjoy while working with you, okay? You want your employees to be productive, but you're not giving them an enabling environment for them to be productive, okay? A lot of organizations, when employees come up with suggestions, they don't work with it. They only work with what management says, okay? Communication in employee relations should be two-way, okay? We have the top to bottom, that is vertical, but it also should also be bottom up. When you at the top management are dishing out terms and conditions, please create an avenue where those at the bottom too can give you feedback, and ensure that you adopt some of these suggestions by your employees. There are things the employees at the bottom of the pyramid in your organizational structure, they have interface with your clients, they get feedback from your customers or visitors to your organization, okay? Now, if you are not giving, hello?
Oh dear.
All right, if you're not giving your employees the opportunity to be able to express themselves, what it means is that you will have a bunch of dissatisfied employees. And trust me, if you have so many dissatisfied employees in your employment, what it means is that you're going to be dealing with angry and resentful employees, and they will take it upon, the impact will be felt by your clients, because they are the ones who will be managing people who will be bringing business or deals for you in your organization, okay? So what you should do as an organization, every month, set aside a day where you will have meeting. So in that meeting, there should be no boss, there should be no senior management, there should be no security. No, all of us in this room, we are one, okay? Like my previous organization, what we do, we call it Baobab meeting. Baobab, you know that African baobab, when a community in the village wants to hold a meeting, everybody, men, women, children, chief, local council members, they all come and sit under the baobab and talk about the issues that are affecting them in the village. So you should create that avenue where employees and management can come together. At that point, nobody is management, nobody is an employee. Nobody is management, nobody is an employee. That way, they can freely express themselves. And please don't hold any word they say to you in that setting against them. If you create such an enabling environment, trust me, when you are going to have issues that will have a damaging effect for your organization, it is that informal setting that you will be able to hear firsthand what others within the organization or outside the organization are planning against you. It could be that they are walking the street to the office, okay? And then they overhear the community complaining that because of what you are doing, it is affecting their community, and they are planning to come and set up your organization ablaze, okay? Take, for example, if you are an NGO and you are working in the aspect of, let's say, equality, okay? And then you have homosexuals that you are working with. You bet me that if you find yourself in a typical Nigerian setting, there will be people who resist anything that has to homosexualism and lesbianism. The community will say you are creating an enabling environment for their children to practice evil, let me use that word. And before you know it, they could plan and come and attack your organization. So in that kind of informal setup, you see organization, oh, I overheard this. So you as management will pick interest in such an information and act to prevent it, okay? And that way, you keep your employees' morale high, okay? It's an avenue, maybe an issue a departmental head and one of his subordinates have been having. They've not been able to resolve it. They brought it to the larger house, and then you can just intervene and make it, you resolve it in the best way possible without throwing blames at anybody. And also you treat employees fairly. Also treat your employees with what? Respect and dignity. If you're able to do this, then you will be able to have the best out of your employees. And that will translate to what? Your organizational culture. Anybody coming into your organization will know that, oh, if you work with social organization, you will not be insulted, no in-house fighting, no quarreling, no backbiting. You know, these little things, we may ignore them, but before you know it, these are the things that contribute to toxic workplace practices, which is not a good thing at all, okay? All right. Now, in dealing with your employee relations, please focus on these 9 areas that were listed on this presentation. This is not exhaustive, but this is something that you should use as a guide, okay? Your communication, please mind the way you talk to people. You need to be very, very open in your communication and give people room to ask questions, and always try to resolve inquiries employees bring to you at the shortest possible time, okay? Please create an avenue people can trust you, people can believe in you, people can vouch for you that, oh, if it is this, my madam, her no is no, her yes is yes. Sometimes this approach is good, but sometimes you need to be flexible, okay? then you should have very good work ethics. You should be known that if meeting is happening at 9 o'clock, by 8:55, be ready for your meeting, so that once it is 9 o'clock, your meeting starts, so that you won't be the one keeping every other person waiting, okay? There are a lot of times that meetings are set for 9, and then maybe if you're the leader of the organization, by 30 minutes, you're not in the meeting, and you will not inform the team, oh, sorry, I'm not able to join the meeting at 9. Start the meeting, I'll join you by 9:30. That way, you're being ethical. That means you have another engagement that is clashing, but because you were not there, it doesn't mean the meeting should stop. Every other thing can continue. And when you come in, you will be given a time, handle whatever you want to have handle or whatever you want to contribute, and then everybody will be happy for it, okay? Please be fair in your dealing, okay? Now, a lot of agitations that men are being treated better than women, all these things, if you have in your organization that because this person is of this tribe, or this person is of this religion, or this person is of this gender, he or she is being treated better or worse than his colleague, that means there's no fairness in your organization. Sometimes when it comes to recruitment, okay, we have a lot of people who will prefer to recruit somebody from their region or from their religion or from their tribe over someone who is more competent, irrespective of the religion. So if you're fair, religion, ethnicity should be secondary when you want to do recruitment. First, you should look at the competence and secondly be ruler role can handle him or her. It's very important. Please look out for competence, because if you hire an incompetent hand, at the end of the day, your organization or your business is going to suffer. Okay? Then perception and beliefs, expectations, all these things, they are important. Please find a way to balance each and every one of it, okay? Then very importantly, how do you resolve conflict within your organization? Because if you don't have a culture or policy in place that will shape how you resolve issues, please, I would advise that after today's session, have a grievance policy in place. When a colleague is aggrieved, either against a fellow colleague or a management staff, have a transparent way where the employee can formally lodge a complaint, okay? Then there should be a committee responsible for addressing this, okay? This committee, you should set up the committee comprising of representatives from different departments, so that there wouldn't be what word now? Let the aggrieved person not feel that, oh, the people composing the committee, they are actually against me. Why? Because they are all from management team. No. Spread your composition of your committee across different departments, so that there will be a balanced view when they do their disciplinary session, and ensure that each of the accused that are even better than what come to you to ask questions. I'm having this challenge. What do you advise me? Please don't take it against them. Don't take it personal. Please, it's very important, okay? Now, if you do these 9 items I just talked about, you will find out that the behavior and consequently the output from your employees will be more productive. But if you find yourself in a way that your employees have to go and run to union to fight for them, you are actually building a toxic work culture such that it will get to a point the union will ground your operations. Why? Because management, you don't give your staff a listening ear, but you wait until they go and bunch up and create a union and become a threat to you within your organization, and then you'll be struggling to deal with your daily operations and then the distraction from union and other organizations, okay? Now, if you have a very poor work culture, for example, the issue of bereavement I mentioned at the beginning of my conversation, if you don't give your staff opportunity to take time off work, to rest, or to attend to their personal stuffs, what it means is that they will be absent from work and there is nothing you can do about it. But if you have a leave policy in place and communicate this to the employees, they know that if I need to be away from work, I have to take permission. Okay, how do I take the permission? This is the process you need to follow to take permission from work. And that after taking the permission, there's likelihood for approval or not to be approved, okay? Please, if your employees follow the right channel to request for leave according to your policy, please, if it is in your capacity, grant them the leave, because if you don't, they will be absent from work, and that is even more harmful. It's a harmful practice if you build an organization where employees will have to be absent before you allow them to go for their personal stuffs, okay? Then we talked about employee turnover, okay? People leaving your work. You train people and suddenly they go. You train people, suddenly they go. Yes, if your employee relations is not a good one, there is likelihood that people just come to your organization, stay 1, 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, and off they go. Why? Because every human being, including myself, okay, we are selfish in nature. We will always tend to gravitate towards what is more beneficial to us. It's human nature. Opportunity to contribute to the growth of your organization. One last thing that you shouldn't allow is that you have a conflict within your organization and you find out that internally you cannot resolve it. Why? Probably because of you choose not to, or you feel the employee is nothing, or you feel you can do anything to your employee and go away with it, okay? In this case, you find out that an employee will just go and then sue your organization, okay? It's not a good thing for any business, no matter how big you have grown in the industry, okay? In terms of risk mitigation, for those who have structured organization, this litigation should form one of the key areas for your risk assessment, okay? You will put it in your policy that on no account should it be so bad that we have an issue within our organization that we cannot resolve it, that we have to go to court to resolve it. If you have the proper policies and procedures in place, it will mitigate it, okay? Please, when you are employing anybody to join your organization, let them know that they are brand ambassadors of your organization. So whether they are in the office or in their homes, they have to be of good behavior. Why? Because they represent your organization, whether at work or out of work. So they must be of good behavior and try to avoid issues that will tarnish your image. Please ensure that you include it in your employee handbook or whatever documents you give your employees whenever they join your organization. That way, there will be a form of control that if faced with an issue, even outside of the office, the way they will react to the issue, they will always remember, oh, I work for this organization. There will be a form of like a drag before they overreact, okay? And then they should seek the proper channel in addressing issues, please, so that it doesn't bounce back to you as the employer or to the organization. Okay? Now, part of the documents you should give your employees when you employ them is what? Employee handbook. Employee handbook is like a document that talks about who the person is, what he or she is expected to do while in your employment, and even if the person is leaving your organization, the kind of process he or she needs to do or activities he or she is supposed to do before checking out completely from your organization, okay? It talks about what your organization is and what you aspire to be in future, okay? It contains strategies of what your organization represents, your mission, your vision, okay? Some policies need to come in, like this policy of about absenteeism, okay? It should be contained in the handbook. Then it should also contain aspects that deals with their behavior when they are at work and when they are out of work, okay? Because some people will go and commit crime, and the next thing they see your organization's ID card on them, definitely it's going to create a dent for you and your organization, okay? Then please include the reporting line when they are faced with harassment or when they are faced with challenges. What is the proper channel to address these challenges? Your work employee handbook should have that, so that at every point in time, on joining the organization during your onboarding process, these are part of the document you share during the onboarding process, so that employees know the do's and don'ts, what we accept as an organization, what we don't accept, what is our mission, what is our vision, how do we relate with each other, our relationship, you know, all these things sum up in a document will give you what? The employee handbook. Every employee is supposed to read, understand, ask questions, okay? Then you should have a page on that employee handbook where the employee will acknowledge that yes, he or she has read the content of this book and is going to abide by it as far as they are in your employment, and they should sign and put a date, put their name, put a date, and acknowledge that yes, I have read and I have accepted to work by the content of the handbook. Why? Because some persons will tell you, I'm not aware, and you cannot charge anybody to court on the basis of what he or she doesn't know. So if the employee says, no, I didn't know, you refer him back to the handbook, okay? Then you, in your own filing system, you keep a copy of that page of that acknowledgement copy, that page, document it in the employee's folder, so that if tomorrow the employee is trying to be mischievous or tries to be dubious, a lot of things happen within the organization. You have an evidence that before you joined us, we told you this, this, and that. What have you done? what you have done or what you are being charged for is contrary to what our employee handbook says. So on that note, you as an employer will be able to have a backing to show that because my employee didn't do this, that is why I am terminating his or her appointment. You have a basis, you have a backing to your decision, either to keep the employee or to exit the employee, okay? So for the employee handbook, it is to clearly communicate information, okay, that is relevant while they are in your employment. And the goal of you having an employee handbook is to establish a positive and consistent image, either as the employer or as an employee, like I mentioned, within the organization or outside of the organization. Whoever passes through your organization, there should be something different about that person compared to someone who has not been to your organization. That is what we talk about, the work culture. Either your work culture is a positive one or it is a toxic one, okay? Then if an employee is a good employee in your organization, it translates to the person being a responsible citizen when they are not under your employment or when they are out of office, okay? So what the employee handbook should contain summarily is that it should contain your policies and your procedures, okay? And then the information you are sharing with the employee during their orientation course, okay, while joining the organization newly. And then what is binding legally as an employer or an employee, okay? Like I mentioned during our first session, when an employee joins an organization, he or she is entitled to having an offer letter. You know, the offer letter should contain the terms and conditions, what he or she is supposed to be doing as your employer, as your employee, okay? Then you, as an employer, what you will be doing legally, if you employ somebody, you are supposed to pay the person's salary. So this should be contained in the handbook so that both the employer and the employee knows their obligations to each other, okay? And then try to stick to what your handbook or your policies and your procedures says. That way, it saves you a lot of stress, okay? Then very important, okay, is the roles and responsibilities of both the employer and the employee, okay? Like I use the aspect of salary, you are entitled to pay salary, but you're not going to pay salary if the employee doesn't perform his or her role. So in your policies, if you fail to perform your role, what is next? What is it binding on both you and the employee? If you don't perform your work, what is supposed to be applicable? That is where your policies around your remuneration comes into play, okay? I mentioned about giving employees the opportunity to take leave so that they can go and do their personal things, because if you don't allow that, they will become absent and it's going to affect your work, okay? But for leave, it is planned such that even when the employee is not going to be around, there will be somebody playing his or her role. That way, the impact of the absence of the employee will not be felt too much, okay? And also find a way in your policy to always ensure that when employees are on leave, when they are on leave, let them enjoy their leave. Please stop calling them back and forth. Oh, you forgot to do this, you are supposed to do that. That the person is away, but he's still performing his or her work. It shouldn't be, please. Try and find a way that when your employee is away, he is giving the full benefit, okay? even though we know there are some roles that when they are away, they have to still be around because when they are away, they are able to, they are still very relevant. So such employees, when they get to that point, then hello, Petra, please mute your call. Thank you. Okay, now there are some roles that are very strategic to your organization, okay? And then when such an employee wants to take leave, he or she understands the importance of his role. So at that level, because of the kind of salary he or she takes home at the end of the month, he doesn't really mind because he knows that he occupies a very critical role. Please, but during I'll give you a call back. Thank you. Okay, now the disclaimer, what it does is it exempts you, the employer, from some responsibilities, okay, if such a scenario occurs, okay? So if you're developing your handbook, you should have what? Employment at will disclaimer, and then the general handbook disclaimer. Okay, let me read it out so that we will have an understanding of these basic components, please. That we are an at-will employer and operate under the provision that employees have the right to resign their position at any time, with or without notice, and with or without cause, okay? We, the employer, have similar rights to terminate the employment relationship at any time, with or without notice, and with or without cause. What this is summarily saying is that when an employee wants to leave, the person is having the liberty to leave, okay? But what we do as managers in organization is that at the point of exit, let the employee follow the right channel in exiting, okay? That is why in my earlier session, I mentioned that the way an employee joins your organization, it will reflect in the way the employee will leave your organization. If you don't have a standard process of recruitment, onboarding, training, and then hitting the organization proper, if you don't have a process or a structure around it, when the employee wants to leave, he will just disappear. He will abscond without informing you, okay? So that process of them joining, you will also inform them that the same way you have followed this process to join us, when you want to resign, you have a process you have to follow, and let them know and be aware of this process, okay? It's the same way for employers too. They have the right to terminate if you are not doing what you're supposed to do as an employee. That is why there is always performance review, either half a year, annually, or quarterly, depending on your organization's policy. You should have a review what the individual employee is contributing to the general organization's expected output, okay? If you're recruiting, everybody is contributing his or her quota. If the employee is not contributing his or her quota the way he or she ought to, what it means is that there are processes for you to disengage the employee. So this paragraph, what it is talking about is the rights, okay, of both the employer and the employee. Then on the general handbook disclaimer, okay, you should capture, I think you can do it on the cover page or the first 2 pages, that this handbook that you are giving the employee is to guide it, is to guide the employee while working with you. It is not the same thing as what? The offer letter. Employee handbook and offer letter, they are not the same thing, okay? An offer letter shouldn't exceed a page or two maximum. But this employee handbook varies from organization to organization. It can come in the form of a booklet and so on and so forth, depending on what you want to do for your organization, okay? And then you should also quote that this can be changed, but please don't wake up because you feel like changing it today, you wake up and change it. No. Employee handbook, there is always a period organization set aside to review their policies, okay? Most times at the end of your business year, it is that period that you do review of all that happens in your organization. So you should have a strategy team that is responsible for this, okay? Then the final approval is going to come from your CEO. And the CEO is going to be the one to do the final vetting, approval, and endorse it with his or her signature, and then include the date this thing was done. And also the review should capture when the next review should happen, either annually or twice or once in 2 years. For some people, once in 5 years, but always document it so that you will set a machinery in place that will be responsible for your review of your documents, okay? Now, when you have formally prepared your employee handbook, make sure that it is in a manner that can easily be understood, okay? And then let them be aware it is subject to review, but you will not just wake up and just do review. If there is a review, it should be communicated, okay? So you should also have a policy in place around reviewing your documents. These policies will help to have a structure around how often you should review, okay? No policy or procedure is cast in stone. When you put your policies and procedures in place, there will be a counter reaction from the employees and management that will be using this document, okay? So the responsibility of the committee is to see that after we started using this handbook, we noticed this, we noticed that. There is a deviance from what we said will happen. So the review committee, we factor in all these things that are not in line with what the handbook says. They will review it, send it to management for approval. Once the management approves, then the CEO is going to endorse his or her signature on the document, okay? Please, it shouldn't be something you read sharply or scan. No, please read and understand before you append your signature. If you have no if you have doubts or you need clarity in any area, the HR officer or the HR team for the organization should be able to provide clarity around how this works, okay? And then for some organizations, if you have the luxury, you should have a notice board where you can paste this copy of the employee handbook. When you paste the copy of the employee handbook, it's going to give you evidence that yes, when you were joining the organization, we have this policy or this handbook in place, and we put it up on a notice board, and you refer either your staff or your business partners to read. Let them read and understand and accept that they agree to it before you do any business with them in your organization. So for the employee handbook, we have come to the end of the session on employee handbook. So I am going to take time now and then have you ask questions, and then I will try to address as much as I can. Thank you. And I'm open to your questions now.
All right, thank you very much, Ma. This has been really, really eye-opening. If you ask me, I mean, I know we have, NGO leaders, people looking to start NGOs, in the sessions, but I would say that this is useful in any setting, apart from NGOs. I think all of this information that you have shared, very detailed, you've broken it down step by step, and we want to thank you so much for sharing this wealth of knowledge with us. Thank you so much, ma'am. We have questions from Benin and Abeokuta. So right away, I'll ask that, okay, Benin's hand is down, so I don't know what happened, but let's have Abeokuta. Please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hello, Veronica. Thank you for an in-depth information on employment and employee stuff. Please, I just want to ask, can we have like a template of this employees handbook? It would be appreciated.
Okay, I don't have it currently, but before the next session, I should make it available.
Okay, was that all the question from the, okay, all right.
Benin City. Okay.
Let's have you.
All right, good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Veronica Ghana. I really want to celebrate the depth of your knowledge on the subject you have spoken on. Because I will not get this opportunity again, I choose to ask this question that has been bothering me on employee and employer's relationship.
Okay.
And it's on a proper compensation of employees who have worked and retired and has currently suffering physical injuries. They are paid certain compensations and just left like that. Let me give you an instance. A woman had worked about 35 years. Her finger is messed up because she's been a typist for about 35 years. And then she leaves. A woman that have worked for about 35 years as a typist. Her finger is messed up because of every day she's been typing. Now she's retired, yes. She's been paid what I consider as a very significant amount. And this woman is left with this physical injury that can't allow her use this finger again. Now, this is the question. Is, in your own opinion as a professional, is it our poor legal system or the ignorance of the employees that have led to this exploitation of employees?
Okay, you want my opinion on
Yes. Who is to be blamed?
post-service injury. All right.
Thank you.
The truth is every employer is selfish, okay? That is why government the world over pegs retirement at the age of 60, 65, thereabout. What does it mean to you? What it means is you have invested your most productive period of your life serving your employer. Okay, sorry I have to say it this way, but it's the reality. And what I always advise people is please try to innovate. And I keep asking how a person joins an organization and still remains on that role or that organization for 35 years. What it means, in my opinion, please don't quote me anywhere. In my opinion, what it means is that the person found his or herself in a comfort zone and was okay working 35 years in one system. If you notice people who do that, compared to those who explored other opportunities outside of the same setting, you find out that those who left for other opportunities have better incentives in terms of salary, and then they have better access to opportunities than the person who gave 35 years of their life in one organization. Please, if you can, do it, but I don't advise it, okay? Always add value to yourself. For example, that person that was doing typist for the last 35 years of her life, the injury didn't just occur overnight. There is been signs of fatigue or pains or persistent pains, okay? And she ignored it. All she could have done at that time was to have requested to be reassigned to another role. I don't know if she had that opportunity to ask, okay? And please, for all of us seated here, this is a very critical question that we all need to address, okay? For those of us in the telecommunications sector, the challenge we have is prolonged exposure to headsets. Those that work in call center, if you have family and friends, ask them, okay? The whites who brought this concept of working in the call center, okay, have it that an average employee in the call center should not exceed 2 years. But because of the situation we find ourselves in Nigeria, we find people doing the same job for 10, 15 years. If you run a check on their eardrum, all of them have that side effect, okay, which becomes more pronounced as they age. So the ideal thing is, even though you find yourself in such a situation, please use your discretion and know when to put a tab, when to stop. Because when the damage sets in, no amount of compensation can replace the original parts. Most organizations, what they do is they have this life insurance policy for their staff. But how much is that life insurance policy and how far can it go compared to the damage? Do you get? So when you begin to find yourself in that situation, the best bet is for you to request to be reassigned, please. Okay? And for us, business leaders here, CEOs of organizations, what I would advise, please practice job rotation. Don't keep one employee on the same spot for years. Please try to rotate employees across job functions so that they can broaden their mindset, okay? We have some very loyal employees These are people who will join your organization from start to finish. They are very okay. But we have heard stories of employees who joined as cleaners or who joined as security men, but they went back and developed themselves and found themselves in top management level of the same organization. So please, okay, do not patronize mediocre employees. They are very loyal, yes. They stay with you where everybody lives, yes. But in our conversation earlier, I mentioned that please, self-development and career development is very important. It's not a good business decision to keep one employee on one role for 10 years. No, please. Find a way to make the employee do something different from what they are used to. That way, they learn from different business functions, and this issue of side effects and all of that will be a thing of the past. It's unfortunate she found herself in that situation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma. Would that be all from Benin City? Okay, if that's all from there, then we can move back to Abeokuta window. I see somebody else seated. Okay, please go ahead and unmute yourself, after which you go to Port Harcourt.
Good morning or good afternoon. Earlier, you talked about how we can handle issues among employees. For instance, an employee A has offended employee B.
Okay.
And most of the times when employees want to resolve conflicts among themselves, it escalates. And they have no choice than to report to the employer. And that could cause a damnation in their interpersonal relationship, because some employers don't know how to treat conflicts within. So my question now is this. You said there should be a kind of a meeting or sitting where the employees and employers will sit down and talk. This time around, there'll be no ranks, no position. They can express themselves. But some of the times, this has led to a hot situation. So how do we handle such a thing? Because many times, many employees have grudges against themselves, but they don't know how to express it. Or maybe even the employer themselves they've wronged the employees. So how do they report the employees to the employees? Sorry, how did they report the employer to the employer?
Okay, we are in a very delicate situation, okay? But there is nothing that has happened in your organization that has not happened before, okay? And I said, when it comes to the issue of conflict, if not properly managed, there are instances where conflicts snowball, okay, and consume the organization itself. So when it comes to the issue of handling employee grievance, you have to be very strategic about it, okay? So I'm going to use the instance you mentioned, okay? First, when it happens between low cadre employees, he or she has a team leader. That is his first line of contact. If the team leader cannot resolve it, then the team leader will channel the grievance to their manager, depending on your organizational structure, okay? The last person the issue should get to is either the MD or the CEO. Why he or she believes that I have employed staff. So those issues should be things that my employees should be able to handle, okay? Now, when it becomes the issue, you know, some staff can go as far as hiring area boys to block their colleagues and beat and or like injure them, or kidnapping in some instances. People can be that crazy, okay? Then it becomes a threat, not just to the employee, but to your organization, that you have a staff in-house that have the mind to actually go and hire street boys to waylay a fellow colleague. What it means is that you internally should find a strategy how you will exit that employee from, because he is exhibiting a character that should not be condoned in your organization. Okay? But then we have instances where the perpetrator of the grievance is the employer himself. That is where we encourage organizations, okay, and business owners to innovate. They need to collaborate with their peers in other organizations, okay? If it is an employer that wants the growth or the best, nobody is perfect, okay? And there is nothing wrong in you, the CEO, or whatever position you're occupying at the top management, to tell your subordinate sorry. It takes a lot of maturity for you to be able to do that. But trust me, most of these conflicts within organization boils down to ego. And one person needs to take the bull by the horn and address it. If sorry is going to address your issue, please, as a business owner, I would say you should take that part instead of going to court with your employees, okay? Or causing your business operations to shut down. Why? Because of ego. It doesn't cost you anything, okay, to apologize to employees. But because of this ego thing, top management staff have, it is a difficult thing. But trust me, if you as a business leader like the CEO can tell your subordinate, sorry, what it means that nobody that is beneath you in hierarchy in that organization that shouldn't imbibe the same culture, okay? Now, when I was in MTN, there was a time that all this yes sir team was very much, okay? And then our CEO looked at it at that time and said, okay, this our culture from home, okay, is encroaching into the way we run our business in MTN Nigeria. All right, please, nobody should call me sir again, okay? Call me by my name. Let me use Frank, for example. What it means that he has broken that barrier that people are scared of approaching their superiors when they have issues, okay? By that singular act alone, company-wide in Nigeria, we don't call our managers sir. Unconsciously, you will still say it because that is how we were brought up, okay? But when you come within the office, you address your superiors by their first name. That way, that boss-subordinate relationship, there has been a bridge, okay? Maybe it was 1 kilometer away before, he has brought it to like 100 meters away. That means he has brought the relationship between bosses and their subordinate closer. It may look infinitesimal, it may look as if it's unimportant, but if you look at the impact in the long run, what it means is that if a female staff is being harassed sexually, she can in confidence approach any of her superiors and tell them, oh, sorry, I'm faced with this challenge, I need help. Anonymously, they will do investigation and find out that, oh, what this female staff said is true. But because of fear, the perpetrator is her senior in office, so she cannot challenge him openly. But now we have a work culture that doesn't do boss-subordinate relationship. You can walk to any of your superior colleagues and confide in the person. That person, because he or she has been in the organization before you, he or she knows the process, to address standard harassment. We call it standard harassment policy. And then he or she will help her, okay, step aside, we will investigate. But when we need information from you, you provide this information. And that way, if there is issue of that nature, people now can leverage on that and share their concerns. And that way, it protects MTN in one hand and protects the employee. You can report incidences anonymously so that nobody knows where the information is coming from except those who are doing the investigation. So for reporting employer is employer, okay? The manner in which you report is what makes the difference, okay? Some employers, nobody in their lifetime have ever told them they are wrong before, but it will take one person to be able to approach the person, okay? No matter how hard the employer is, there are people who relate with them on a personal level. That way, you can chip in your concern against the employer to that person. Because of that personal relationship the employer shares with the subordinate staff in their low moments, okay, when they are chatting and bantering each other, he or she, oh, I had this feedback for you. I think as a business leader, when you get to this stage, you don't react this way, okay? Try to be open. Try not to shout on your subordinate. It's not a good thing to do as a business leader. That way, it is not like the junior officer came to report Oga, okay, but the message has been passed to Oga. And unconsciously, he or she will admit that, yes, I actually did this. I should do better, okay? And then I always encourage, please, there's no limit to self-development. There are a lot of materials available on the internet. Google it, join groups, WhatsApp group, Telegram groups, who mentor people to be better leaders, okay? If you graduated from a university, there is always an alumni group of that university. Try and join. You will be shocked at the level of access or network you build from there. Same thing with your department from school, okay? Same thing from your alumni from secondary school or student association. They are little, but trust me, they have abundance of resources that you can leverage on to address issues that you are faced with, okay? There was a time we were having issues with our marketing team, and it was from my old students association group. I went to meet one of them who was a sales manager and a marketing manager in one other organization. I said, oh, see the issue I'm faced with in my organization. I said, oh, this is the way we do it. We have a template, we have this, we have that. And she was able to advise, and it really helped me, okay? Yeah, so next person.
Yeah, thank you very much, Veronica. That answer, I'm sure you already put it in the chat. Very, very helpful. Thank you so much for taking your time, to always answer questions from our participants. Let's move over to Port Harcourt real quick. Benin's hand is still raised, so I'm not sure if you're raising for another round of question or you just forgot to lower the hand. So let us know. But yeah, let's take Port Harcourt real quick. Let's just have you. Yes, okay. There's no audio from you.
Port Harcourt was raising their hands earlier. Can we have them?
Yes, we're waiting for them to unmute and ask their question.
Hello, can you hear me? From Benin City.
Okay, we have another from Benin. Please go ahead, Port Harcourt, get ready.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Veronica, for your impactful teaching. I really learned a lot. But there's a question urgently that I want to ask. some years back, I work in an organization. They have employers handbook. They offer appointment letter. But I noticed something about the organization. What they wrote in the employers handbook is different from their practice, in the sense that they wrote there that after 5 years, an employee is entitled to his or her pension. But when it's not getting close to 2 months or 5 years, when they know that the employee can start having pension.
Please, you're very faint. I can barely hear you. You may have to repeat your question. You said when it is 2 months for you to hit the 5 years.
Okay, can you hear me now? Once it's 2 months for the employee to get to
that benefit level.
the benefit level. I want to ask,
can you please come closer to the microphone so I can hear you?
Huh?
I'm having challenge hearing you. Or you can drop it as a
Can you
chat.
hear me now?
Yes, it is
Can you hear me
better
now?
now. Yes.
Okay. So the I don't know how I would like to put it. They can their answers.
Please drop it as a message. You're breaking up, so I can't get you clearly. Benin, kindly drop it as a message. Then can we have Port Harcourt?
If you already have,
if you can come and do it,
employee relation, how do you manage a case where employees use to take full advantage of it? You already have a stable relation, employee relation, where you take cognizance of their personal development and career development. But how do you manage employees that take undue advantage of this fair treatment? More like you get frequent excuses and they are unwilling to even make up for all those time they were absent.
Okay, you said from your question, sorry, I was having challenge, but from the little I heard is, even if you make available or make all these working conditions available to the employee, they take advantage of it, right? How do you manage it? Is that your question?
Yes.
Okay, we as humans by nature, we are selfish, okay? The difference is that the degree of selfishness varies from individual to individual, okay? No matter how robust an organizational culture or practice is, there are people that it will never be enough for, okay? So what I always advise is, don't make one individual too central for your operations. What I mean is that when you have an employee, please do job rotation such that other employees too can play the same role the person plays, okay? That way, it is part of career development practice for your organization, such that when the employee wants to leave, the impact will be minimal, okay? People are afraid of losing their organization staff because they have invested heavily on one person and will not give other people opportunity to perform the same role so that they can also develop on the job. Do you get? So what I will advise in such a situation is, please always have a plan B. Always ensure that for every role, you have what we call succession planning, such that even if it is the CEO that is leaving today, somebody within the organization should be able to step in and perform the function until a substantive CEO is elected or employed for the organization. Okay? Good. So, Benin, I have your question.
I have another question from Port Harcourt.
Oh, sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I want to draw you back to the question that was earlier asked by the participants when he said about the lady who had worked as a typist for 32 years and had her, fingers,
Okay.
she had her fingers. And from what you've taught us today, you talked about the employee handbook. And HRO is all about beyond employment and staffing. It also speaks about conflict management.
Okay.
And we talked about employee management. And it appears there is some sort of silence with regards to employer handbook. When I mean employer handbook, we're talking about employee handbook. These are things that the employee should do. And the punishment for the employee is well spelled out. And there are, modalities to ensure that an employee is well, behaved or well punished or everything. But what about the employer? For instance, you talked about the employee asking to be moved. These are quite unrealistic things, if I may want to use that. For instance, the person was employed as a typist, and the person is having issues with their hands, and the person walks up to the employer and says, I'm having issues with my fingers. I need to be, sent to another area. Do you think that the employer will, do that or ask that person to leave? And if that person knows that the employer will not give him or her an option, do you think that that person will want to, get sacked without knowing that there's an alternative or without having an alternative to life? So is there an employer's handbook, and what powers do employees have over employers in terms of their welfare and crisis management? Thank you.
Okay, now you said from our conversation so far, it has been focused more on employees, and not the employer.
Yes,
you're
ma'am.
right. Now, what I am saying is, for an employee, I used an example of the call centers in the telecommunications industry of using headset or earpiece all the time, okay? Because of the job crisis in Nigeria, employees take a lot of bullshit. Sorry to use that word, okay? And now, because we don't have a robust compensation and benefit system in Nigeria, even the Nigerian government is failing to do the basics for its citizens. So a lot of employers have it at the back of their mind that they are doing employees a favor. Sadly, that is the situation we find ourselves in Nigeria today. And I went on to mention that I don't advise an employee to sit in one organization throughout their career. And I use the example that if they compare their growth with their colleagues who moved to other organizations, you will find out that those who moved are doing better than those who remain. I'm not saying that there are those who will remain and will not be successful. You will, but if you're adding value to an organization, every employee, please add value to yourself, such that if today the job is no longer available, you have something to fall back to. COVID has taught all of us a lesson that a point can come in our lifetime that those things we are used to will no longer be there. If those things are not there, what will we be doing? Still on the employees, okay? Now back to employers. Employers, we know we are disadvantaged in Nigeria, and anybody employing staff in the Nigeria of today, we must commend them. But that wouldn't mean that they are 100% perfect, okay? Such employers need to work on themselves. And that is why I said at that level, employers need to leverage on network. We have that weakness, but thankful to technology and agitations, Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, we have now Chartered Institute of Managers, we have a lot of chartered institutes all over. All these chartered institutes exist to form a training setup for employers. But how many employers are leveraging on those available resources to improve themselves? It takes somebody who desires growth personally to go out and say, oh, I've been out of school from the last 15 years. I've been a manager for the last 15 years. Okay, the knowledge you gained 15 years, if you compare it to today, knowledge is obsolete. So leverage on networking with what? Organizations who have better capacity than you. Okay, and I mentioned in my first or second session that we should practice what we call peer learning. Peer learning comes at no cost, okay? It's not a crime to ask for help. If you don't know anything, please go and ask. Ask people for help. If you don't know, seek for help. It doesn't mean you are weak. It means that I am this, I want to be better than what I am. So managers, CEOs, this is the resources you should leverage on. Acquire skills, but more importantly, at that your level, at that your cadre, what will help you is networking sessions, okay? Leverage on industry strength and build on it, please, okay? Please, I would advise that. Then if we want to talk about employers, their curriculum is different than employees. It is a whole lot of engagement. Why? Because at management level, the kind of conversations we will be having is not this. It will be more strategic conversation. So if we have to do that, then it will be a different arrangement entirely. But in a nutshell, employers need to work with people in their cadre and have honest discussions on what they should do and what they shouldn't do.
All right, thank you very much, Ma. Let's go back to Benitez's question, which they drop in the chat. Then we'll take American Space Maiduguri, and then American Corner Ikeja should please get ready for their question also. So Benitez is asking, 2 months to when an employee wants to gain his or her benefits. 2 months to when an employee wants to gain his or her benefits gets terminated because the employer does not want the employee to get the benefits. So I guess they're trying to say, you know.
Okay, for Benin, I think if you notice that pattern, okay, it is an unfair labor practice. So we have what we call a National Employers Consultative Assembly. They are just like NLC, but that one is for only employers, okay? Then you should seek redress legally. If that is a common pattern, get your evidence and speak to a lawyer and see the condition under which they terminate this employment so that employees don't get the benefits that is due to them. So what I would advise is get a lawyer, okay, and get your evidence. Let the lawyers handle it. Then he didn't want us to get to that point of NLC and all of that, but these are unfair labor practices. And if you can establish, then you have a strong case. And I'm sure if you go the legal way, you're going to get redress.
Okay, Maiduguri, please go ahead.
A very big thanks to our presenter, Madam Veronica Agana, and organizers of this workshop. We are really learning a lot of things from it. And I believe after the workshop, it will be useful to us. Our presenter talked about a time for meeting of understanding each other and liking the situation to a type of meeting, so to say, where the boss, the organ, everybody becomes one, So the boss at this point in time comes down to level himself. Now, our question is, how do you control and manage that kind of meeting to achieve success, especially as some people will take chance to misbehave or become nuisance and throw insults at the management? That is one. The other aspect is, don't you also think that the boss being around can take notice of some people and see them as someone who are threats to the organization? What do you think can happen in this situation? Thank you.
All right, and thank you, Meduguri, for that question. The example I used of having that informal meeting, the village meeting or the baobab meeting, depending on what you want to call it, is this, okay? It is to give a neutral ground so that employees can express themselves. It doesn't mean that at that point, employees should become insultive, no. Your policy in place, your code of conduct should spell it out that you don't permit fighting, and then you don't permit use of foul language for your fellow colleagues. So if a person is aggrieved and doesn't know how to express himself and becomes insultive, then your policy about using insultive language within the office premises takes effect, okay? It's just like having a no smoking policy in your office. Anybody that smokes within the office knows that there's a policy that we don't permit smoking in the office. Do you understand? What the person can be made to understand is, because we don't allow smoking in the office, you have broken the rule, and there's a punishment that comes with breaking the rule. You refer him back to your policy document that says that anybody found wanting smoking while in the office, this is the punishment that should be applied.
Yes.
Do you get?
Yes,
So,
please.
at every point in time, let an employee know that there are rules governing him while in our employment. And that is why your Okay, sorry, I had to switch to my mobile, okay? Now, your policy in place says that if you smoke, there is a punishment that comes with smoking. You apply it. Because what it means is that he is aware that we have this policy in place. He broke the policy, so he should face the consequences. It's the same thing with addressing the senior management or CEO. When we give you this forum to address yourself, it doesn't permit you to break the rules of the organization. What we are looking out for, and for such a setting, if you want to hold that kind of meeting, management, try to be your body language. Your body language comes very important at this point. Your body language shouldn't be one that will make instill fear. Rather, your body language should be what would make employees to be relaxed, to be confident, to be able to express themselves, okay? And then there should be a moderator for that meeting. If that meeting is holding, the moderator or the PRO should understand that some persons are going out of line. Then you can control it and bring them, okay, please guys, let us not lose focus of why we are here. Let us stay on track. Do you get?
Yes,
so
please.
For such a setting, I always encourage that CEOs should more of, they should be observers rather than sharing the meeting. That is what I usually advise. Maiduguri, I don't know if this addresses your question.
Thank you very much. That's a good one.
Hello?
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's a good one. Thank you.
Can you hear us, ma'am? Hello, ma'am. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. Let's quickly take American Corner Ikeja. American Corner Ikeja.
Okay. My question is, I have a situation where on a Friday, are you hearing me?
Do you have anybody on the call?
Yes, ma'am. Ikeja is asking their question.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I said on a Friday, the entire workforce walked up to the executive managing director and said they need a salary by Monday. And that failure to do that, they were down to the management was put in a panic mood, which if action is not taken, they will not come to work on Monday. And then if you increase the salary, where will you get the money to pay them? So what do you expect that executive managing director to do in this situation? Thank you.
All right, sorry, I missed part of the question because I switched from my laptop to my mobile. So all I could hear was if they were absent on Monday and then how you increase salary. Please, can you rephrase the question again? Thank you.
Yeah, I can. What I'm saying, the staff, the entire staff sort of had a private meeting among themselves, deciding to management and request for salary increment by Monday. On a Friday, they were asking for increment by next Monday. And failure to do that, they will not come to work on that same Monday. So the management had Friday to Monday morning, Saturday, Sunday to give them a reply. What do you expect this managing director to do in this situation?
Okay, if you, as a management director, you have your employees give you a deadline, okay, stating your condition, I think it boils down to either there have been agitations that you ignored, okay, until it got to a point that they have to issue you an ultimatum. And since you have found yourself in that situation, your target should be that industrial action should not happen. And what do? You get their representatives and come to the drawing board. Is it that the business posted profit and then you didn't appreciate the staff for a job well done? Because right now in the Nigeria of today, everybody understands that businesses are just barely struggling to survive. So if you're coming to me with a demand that I should do salary increment, I don't have a problem with the salary increment, but you go back to the drawing board. Okay, accounts and finance, sales, marketing, tell us, are we doing well? Did we do a profit or a turnover? And what is your policy around incentive for your staff? Do you have a policy in place that says, okay, for Q3 in 2022, which ended in July, sorry, Q2, okay, that ended in July, sorry, June, Q2 ended in June, okay? So Q3 will end in September. So let me use example of Q3 now, that if we make a sale of 1 million naira, for example, in Q3, and our target was 800,000. So we made an excess of 200,000 from our target. That means we have exceeded our target, okay? It is a good management practice that you can give your employees incentive, but if you set a target of 800,000 and maybe at the end of Q3, you did maybe 700,000 or 800,000. So where are they expecting the incentive to come from? So you have to get to a point that you do what we call moment of truth, okay? Maybe internally there is conversation happening in the grapevine. Employees are hearing that, yes, management, they hammer, they made so much money. Somebody leaked that information, okay? And at that point, you are in a tight corner, you have to address it, but you cannot address it to all the employees at the same time. You find their ringleaders and their representative, maybe 3, 4, or 5 of them. Bring them to your boardroom and address them. Open your book of records, finance, marketing and sales, okay, and your strategy team. Put it in a draft, like in a chart, either pie chart or a bar graph or something, and show them, okay, this is our projection for this period. This is where we are as of today. Where do you think the money to pay for this incentive will happen? So when the ringleaders are aware that there is nowhere this money is coming from, they will be the same ones to go back to the employees they have instigated and calm them down. You don't need to do that anymore, okay? And then during your next board meeting or during your next staff meeting, you point it out, oh, we had a feedback. I'm sure your representatives have gotten back to you on our feedback, but I have to address it to the general house today that it is not what you think. And if you are in our shoes as management, what we should be talking about now is downsizing. We should reduce staff. We should reduce staff strength so that we'll keep running in business. Definitely, at that level, when they hear that downsizing is one of the options you are considering, it is going to kill off every agitation from anywhere it's coming from. But please, your mode of communication should be very, very strategic. Don't be on the defensive, okay? Agitations are part of everyday business life, but the way you address it matters, okay? Don't talk to them as if you are talking to children. Draw them close. In fact, even if you don't serve tea during your meetings, maybe that day you can declare tea. When they are drinking the tea, what you have done is you have relaxed their mind such that all the agitations they have come for, oh, these people are treating us with dignity. All right, okay, it is not what we thought it is. Be open to them, okay? And then tell them that it is not everything management is seeing that you should know. But I hope that one day you will grow in your career path and sit on this same chair I am sitting, and I will be somewhere watching you do this. But before then, please let us do the work that we are all employed to do. Even me, somebody employed me to be here, okay? And if I don't do my job, I don't know what the management will say. So please, the same thing, the way you are under pressure to produce results, I'm also under pressure to ensure that my staff do the right thing. Then just play around with their psyche and see that in no distant time, they will stop the agitation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma. Daniel, your hand is raised. I think that will be our final question. Daniel, please unmute yourself and.
Another question. Good afternoon, everybody.
Yes, we can hear you.
A wonderful question. My question is, what about employees trying to build up themselves so that they can be able to, be of more value when
Daniel, please, you need to be more audible. I'm struggling to hear what you're saying. Thank you.
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Okay. So you made mention of employees building up themselves to ensure that they have more value in their work space. I want to ask this question there. What if you are into a sector that's building up your capacity within the organization look like a threat to your employer? And there are some organizations that the employer does not want to see anybody looking or growing higher than a particular level when it comes to that as a threat. What should employee do? That's number one. And number two is, of these wonderful sections that we're having, are there connecting links for us to build up our career based on what we are learning here? Because it's very, very important we put it into practice, which I am very interested in. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Like I mentioned earlier, everybody is selfish by nature. Okay. And if the person sees that you're going to be better than him or her, then it is going to be a threat. It's normal. Okay. But as an employee, I would say it and I will say it over and over again. Even if as an employer, all of us, we knew that back then in the last 10 years, BlackBerry was the reigning phone back then, okay? But where is BlackBerry today? And then at that point, Techno, we were looking at Chinko, China phone. But look at the level of penetration in Nigerian mobile phone market that Techno phone has ascended. Do you understand? Because BlackBerry did not innovate, okay? It was hell-bent on maintaining that its class. It didn't feel the pulse of the global market. Is this what people need at this time? But first, Techno came into Nigerian market with price, very low cost, even though the quality was very poor. And then they noticed that every Nigerian has more than one line, so they produce a dual SIM. And there were some phones that were even having 4 SIMs. Why? Because there is a demand for it in the market today, such that high-end phones that were feeling posh, that never had option of dual SIM phone, have now come to copy what Techno and the other Chinese phones are doing. So let us come back to us, the employees in the organization. It's the same thing. It's not a good practice that you join an organization and you are not contributing to yourself. That is why you see a lot of retirees. After retirement, they can't do anything outside of what they are known for in their office. Why? Because they didn't add value to themselves outside of what their core job demands from them. So
Self-development, whether your employer approves of it or not, okay, is a personal decision. You shouldn't wait for someone to tell you to add value to yourself. It is a reality of the day. We have a lot of graduates who have phones, big phones on their hands, but they don't even know the basics of what these phones are. Okay? All of them are posting on Facebook and Instagram and all of that. But in that same Facebook, Instagram, and wherever they find themselves, there are a lot of opportunities that are flying around. So what are you doing as an individual? Your self-development is for yourself. But where you should draw the line is it shouldn't impede your performance on your job that you are taking salary for. That is where most organizations have issues with their staff, okay? They abandon their core responsibility, focusing on self-development, okay? If you know it's going to affect your core responsibility on employment, then you should consider the one that would give you time to run it alongside with your job. But please, everybody, irrespective of the caliber of your or the cadre of your role in that organization, please, you need to improve yourself. No organization wants mediocre employees, okay? The knowledge we have today, in the next 5 years, if we don't step up and catch up with global trends, in the next 5 years, it's going to be obsolete and we'll be struggling, right? It is people who have skill set. You see them, when they leave one organization, they have over 10 organizations waiting to employ them. But if you don't add value to yourself, by the time you leave your organization, you still remain who you are. Do you get? So please, it shouldn't be something you should abuse the opportunity, but it is something you ought to do. I will encourage everybody, even if you are CEO, please learn what Tony Elumelu is doing with UBA. Okay, learn what Inosin is doing with Inosin Motors. Learn what Ibukun Awosika is doing. It may be just reading about them or reading their stories about how they were faced with challenges running their business and how they were able to navigate. All those things, they are little, but a little drop makes what an ocean and all of that. So please, it is a must do, not even something you should be dragging your feet about.
Right. Ikeja, please. Let's quickly have you then. Our time is fast spent.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm reacting to Baba's message and the response. Okay. And my question is, does that mean it's okay for employees to hold you to ransom? Because if you let it slide, that means in a month's time, in 3 months' time, they can come up with the same action again. I've been in that kind of situation before, and I have to tell everybody to go. Though not the whole staff, but a department. They woke up on a Monday morning and said, we're not working again. And I asked them to leave. And what new people, though we suffered that day, but they were able to balance things up and nobody tried that again. So my question is it okay for employees to hold you to ransom? Thank you.
All right, that is what I think we should have addressed. It should be unheard of that employees who to ransom. So in your employee handbook, please be very explicit with this, that on no account should employees disrupt your operations. On no account should the employees disrupt your operation. If it happens that they disrupt your operation, what it means that they are terminating their appointment. So let it be clearly spelled, okay? But what you should do, I said, is before they disrupt your operation, what it means is that they have actually been agitations that you ignored. So please be intentional about addressing employee grievance, please, because the grievances will never go away until you provide a solution. And the more you keep dodging it or avoiding it, the more complex it becomes. And sometimes, if not properly managed, they will shut your organization down. I'm sure you wouldn't want that. So please keep a listening ear, keep an open mind. When they come to you with their complaint, give them a solution, please. Thank you.
All right, final question for the day. Funke, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Good afternoon, everyone. In
Good
fact,
afternoon.
I must confess that I've enjoyed every bit of today's presentation. But one thing towards the end of this lecture is the T strategy that a resource person recommended to address management and staff conflict. Don't you think that the staff may be suspicious or feel undermined in your approach to serving tea when you have never ever served them before? Do you think that tea approach can really address their agitation? Thank you.
All right. The aspect of using tea is because the environment is tensed already. Okay. At that point, they are not ready to listen to you. All they want is solution to their problem. And what you are doing by serving them tea is to douse the tension. Okay. Make the environment relaxed, because in that tense environment, whatever it is just like adding fuel to fire. Okay. The approach of using tea or snacks or food or refreshment during the session is to create a level playing ground where everybody is coming not from the place of conflict, but in a relaxed manner so that they can table their case and you are able to address it. That is why I use that analogy. And then if in your management meeting or team meeting, okay, you have the budget to be able to provide refreshment, it doesn't have to be heavy. Okay, it can just be a drink or something, as little as it is, please provide it. These are some inconsequential things we think we do, but they go a long way in managing grievance. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. We have come to the end of our session today. I would like to thank our speaker so much for the insightful session. And I'm just going through the chat again. I can see, everybody being appreciative of the session, very insightful. People said it's an eye-opener, wonderful presentation, enjoying the program, an eye-opener, brilliant response, eye-opener again. These are feedback from our participants, and we'd like to thank you so much for really, taking your time to present and also answer our questions. Thank you so much, Ma. We look forward to next week's sessions. We know we have you hopefully next week again, and would like to thank you so much and invite everyone to please join us again, same time next week. I want to thank our American Spaces in the North. I think Kano is on the call, I saw that in the chat. Maiduguri is also on the call today. We had Bauchi join us and Abuja. I want to thank you all so much for joining. And please, let's share, this information with people that we know. Even people that are startup owners, NGO owners. Apart from that, everyone needs this information. I think it's, valuable information to have. Yes. Okay, awesome. Still reading things from the chat and it's kind of distracting me. But I mean, this information is actually really valuable for everyone. You have a business that you are running, you have a startup that you are running, you have an NGO, whatever it is, it's very information to know that, as an employee, you have your part to play. As an employer, you also have your part to play. It's so insightful to know all of these things. So we'd like to thank you again for a wonderful session. Quick announcement, very important that if you're on the call and you have not registered for this workshop, you can still do so. I can put the link in the chat before we end the Zoom call, but it's important that you register. and then you'll be added to a WhatsApp group where you will get all the information that we have. So this particular session on human resource were all muted. Okay, I'll just mute. All right. We started last week, Monday, human resources, and we're going to conclude the human resources session again on the call. Thank you so much, everyone. If we don't have any further questions, I'll end the call now. But you registered since last week, Monday, you would get the information eventually. They will send you a message and you can join the WhatsApp group. So thank you all so much, everyone. We'll see you again, same time next week, Thursday. Bye for now. Bye for now. Bye for now. See you all next week, Thursday. Thank you.
Next week or this week?
This week, Thursday, on Thursday. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.